Hey everybody, welcome to this co-webinar with Bonjoro and Joe Kearns. We're going to get started in a couple of minutes. Really excited about this one. Joe is a good friend of ours, got some great ideas to share about automation and incorporating Bonjoro personalized videos into your email sequences. In the meantime, let us know where you're calling in from. I'm calling in from Houston. Joe's coming in from Austin, Texas. So this is like big Texas day right here, Joe.
All right. I love it.
Hey, Kimberly, good morning. Where are you coming in, Kimberly? Let us know where you guys coming in from. Lake Cowichan, British Columbia.
Ooh,
That sounds pretty nice. Hey, Bridget the
yeah.
Willens. All right. Guatemala, ¿cómo estás? ¿Cómo estás, Hannah? All right. I bet you got some good coffee down there, Hannah. I need some good coffee. I need to take good coffee back to Romania because there's no good coffee over there.
Really?
The coffee is just you could stick a spoon in it and it stands up straight because it's so thick and heavy.
I kind of like that though. My wife is Turkish, and so Turkish coffee is like really dense, like sits at the bottom like that.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
was gonna say exactly that. It's like Turkish coffee over there. Yeah.
See, I
Yeah.
like Turkish coffee. But they drink it
Yeah.
too late in the day. Everything's caffeinated. They got the Turkish tea and then the Turkish coffee, and they'll drink it so late in the day. I'm like, I got to stop my caffeine by 2 o'clock, or else I'm just one of those people that
I
I
went
don't
to
need it.
Cappadocia in Istanbul and I
Oh,
got
really?
turned on to apple tea. And for like 3 years after that, I was just a constant apple tea drinker. If you guys have never had apple tea, you can order it from Amazon. It is so delicious. Highly recommend it. You ever had it, Joe? Apple tea?
No, I haven't. I haven't.
Oh,
Did you go to
ask your wife about it.
Cappadocia? You know,
Yeah.
so anyone on here, if you've seen the pictures of like hundreds and hundreds of hot air balloons over this like beautiful
Yeah.
kind of like rocky desert, that's Cappadocia.
Yeah.
So it's a really beautiful place. That's cool. I didn't know you've been there.
Yeah. And when I was there on tour, they said they filmed the first Star Wars there. A lot of the
Oh,
scenes
that's
and everything.
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, I can see
Beautiful.
that.
Yeah, beautiful region. Let's see
Wow.
here. So let's see here. We've got Kimberly said it's very, had a bear sitting under my apple, Casey. Oh, you're just chatting with Casey over there. Okay. Guys, I am so excited about this. I think more people are going to join in. Hey, we got somebody from the Ukraine there. Fantastic.
Hey,
South
nice.
Carolina, New York City. Love New York City. Lived there for 7 years. I was in Hell's Kitchen. I don't know if you're familiar with that. I'm sure you are, John. But miss New York City. Great place to go back and visit too. Okay, Calgary, Alberta. All right, guys, we're going to get started right now. Let me go ahead and pause the music here. We've got Joe Kearns with us. Joe is an expert, not just in email copywriting and email strategy, but also on incorporating personalized videos into your email automations. And so that's what this webinar is going to be about. It's like, hey, if you've got some email sequences working for you, where's a good place to put Bonjoro, right? Where's a good place to insert a Bonjoro task? And he's gonna present some use cases, stuff that he does for his clients. He's gonna walk through step-by-steps on how to do this within the Bonjoro platform, and then also showcase some next-gen templates. But before we get started, I thought I'd share a few fun facts about Joe. You already know he lives in Austin, but his favorite song that he's got memorized is "Feeling Good" by Michael Bublé. Feeling Good by Michael Bublé. Anybody know that song here? I'll be curious to see in the comments. If you know that song, feel free to say, yeah, you like it, you like to jam to it. Another funny thing, his favorite place that he visited and would love to go back is Noosa, Australia. It sounds beautiful. I've never heard of it, but Bonjoro is based in Australia, so I got to check with my colleagues there if they heard of it. They'll vouch whether or
Oh,
not
they've
it's good.
they've heard of it. I'll tell you right now, they've heard of it.
they'll vouch for it. They'll vouch for it. And then the other interesting thing I just learned about Joe is that initially he was going to go to school to be a chocolatier pastry chef, and that's one of the geeky things about him is that he likes making fancy desserts when he's not working on his business. So that was pretty
Mm.
interesting. When I do visit Austin, I'm gonna remind you about that, Joe. And so maybe
Oh, no pressure. No pressure. Okay.
I,
I'll bring up my best. I'll
I'll bring
unpack
out
it
a
here.
bag of apple tea or something, and then maybe you can make a
There
nice,
you go.
fancy dessert for me and my wife. Okay.
Oh, we'll do it.
Okay.
We'll do it.
That said, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Joe. I thought we also get started with a quick poll. And one of the polls I just wanted to ask everybody is, let's see here. Are you currently sending personalized videos in your email automation? Feel free to, just answer. You can answer in the chat and just answer yes or no. Just want to get an idea of where everybody stands who's in attendance right now. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Joe.
Awesome. Okay, well, thank you very much. And I'm seeing from the polls here, it looks like most people are not. So this is going to be a great opportunity to get some ideas for how you can use personalized video and just honestly understanding personalization in general and the great ways that you can use that to add rocket fuel to your relationships and increase revenue. So today there's going to be a lot of different ideas that come up that we cover, and we'll try to give examples of how those apply to different types of industries and different businesses. But I'll tell you right now that I have never ever worked with a client where there wasn't opportunities to use personalized video. We use it in our agency, and I'll show you some examples of how we do that. And then from coaches to consultants to other agencies to personal brands, podcasters, there's so many different ways that you can leverage Bonjoro and personalization in your automation. But I'm guessing that where you're at right now is you might feel a little bit stuck with a lot of that. A lot of the clients that we work with feel like their revenue just isn't really growing and they're not exactly sure why or what they can do about it. Sometimes they've kind of exhausted a lot of the traditional marketing channels, which, spoiler alert, we're going to talk about why those aren't really working as well as they used to. And also, a lot of people spend so much time and money trying to acquire new leads, and then they don't convert, and they've got a list of really disengaged people. So you can get really kind of stuck down feeling like maybe your list is growing, but you don't really know what to do to push people through, which, by the way, we're not going to push them through. We're going to pull them through to be able to give them a great experience where they do end up converting. And then lastly, we get a lot of people that come to us that just feel like they don't really have much of a strategy in terms of how do you nurture people over time. When you do, you'll find people stick around and they buy more often. But a lot of times it's like, okay, that sounds great, but how do I do that? And so we're going to dive into it. So one of my favorite pictures of all time, I have to find a way to include this in like every presentation because I love this kid. We're going to work on that today. So we're going to show you how do you get personal to be able to not just improve conversions, but make the relationships you build a lot more fun and fulfilling in your business. That's a big thing that we believe. And I'll show you some examples of how that's worked out using things like Bonjoro. And then as I hinted at, traditional funnels are not working as well as they used to. And we'll kind of show some examples of why that is, but I bet you've already kind of noticed that even for yourself, you know what a funnel feels like, and it's really not a great experience. And lastly, we're always a big fan of leverage. I love the term small hinges swing big doors. And in this case, there's some really impactful things that you can do with personalization that take very little time, but drive some really, really big results. So
Just a quick reminder, let's go ahead and launch the presentation.
is it, you can't see it?
No, just hit your share screen.
Oh yeah, man, you can't see what I was already shared my best pictures
Yeah, we're
here.
having such a good conversation, and
Oh
we
gosh,
forgot to demo or show the presentation.
look at that! You could have cut me off right away. Here, well now I'm going to go back through and have to show you the pictures. All right, is it showing up now?
There we go. We're good.
I've got 3 screens going right now, so that's why you see me look all over the place. So, all right, well here we go.
Fantastic. Okay.
So we'll skip back to the favorite kids. So at least now you get to know why Success Kid is so amazing. All right, back on track. Cool. All right, just let me know if anything pops off screen again here, Eric. So you've already met me. I'm Joe. This is my business partner, Mike, and we are co-founders of Magic Marketing. So I've kind of hinted already, but our approach to marketing and email marketing is really relationship focused. So we like focusing on how do you develop strategy and systems that grow your revenue and relationships. Those two things are inextricably linked together. And when you understand and learn how to leverage the relationship component of your marketing, you'll find that your revenue grows exponentially compared to when you're just focusing on conversions. So with that, by the end of today, our goal is that you'll have a plan to be able to create amazing customer experiences, how you do that, why it's so impactful, and what some of the mistakes are that people make. We're also going to talk about systems because we really love how you can develop consistency and systems around boosting conversions through this personal touch. And we'll talk about why the personal touch actually can be very heavily systematized in a good way. And lastly, we're going to talk about Bonjoro's NextGen templates, because these are kind of a secret weapon. I'm amazed that there's so many capabilities in this that people can leverage, and it gives like the small guy a disproportionate advantage because you're able to do things that larger corporations just don't do. And this is like where it starts to get really fun. Now, first, a big word of caution before we dive into this. To really understand where marketing is going and where your opportunities are, you kind of want to let go of the idea of just traditional marketing funnels, partially because I think there's a philosophical problem when you're just focused on the funnel the way that most people see it, but also it kind of only has you focused on one part of the entire experience that somebody has with you, which is everything leading up to the sale. Most people focus only on every step that leads up to when they click buy now, and then everything else kind of falls away afterwards. But remember, when they purchase, that's not the end of the relationship. That's actually the beginning of the most important part of the relationship that you have with that person, because to them, that's the beginning. They just put their money in, their trust, and now they're hoping that you can help them get the result and solve the problems that they have. So when we forget about the things that come after the conversion, that's where you're losing the most revenue. And that's where you're really going to leave a lot on the table in terms of your ability to create raving fans and develop those relationships. So the first shift that I want to have you make is to think differently about a funnel versus a customer journey. Now, these are the terms the way that I like to represent them. You can go look in marketing books and they're defined, a million different ways. But most people, when they think of a funnel, they think of it in the shape of the funnel, like we just talked about. And that is just the path to purchase. What are the things that I have to do to get somebody to buy as quickly as possible? Now, when you think about a customer journey, what I like about this is it better reflects the process that somebody goes through, which is a journey. It's not just a funnel. It's much more dynamic, and it involves the entire life cycle. Because remember, not only after the purchase do you still continue to have a relationship, but even after somebody cancels, if they refund, whatever it is, even if somebody's unhappy at the end of an experience, that's still part of the journey that you can craft. And you'd be amazed when you consider even the part of the journey where somebody cancels, that's an amazing opportunity to create a raving fan. And we'll show some examples of what that looks like. So I'd love to have everybody chime in the comments if you can here. I'm interested. What does it feel like to be in a funnel? Everybody on this call has gone through funnels. You know what that feels like. I would love to hear what it feels like when you know that you're in somebody else's funnel. I hear, oh, I feel like I'm cattle, Alex. Yeah, exactly. Like you feel like you're being herded and just like pushed in a direction. It's frustrating. I know I'm just a number. Oh, Casey, I like that. When you say you're just a number, that's exactly what it feels like. Because to be honest, a funnel is almost designed with scale in mind. And it's not that scale is a bad thing, but when you start with that as your primary consideration, you forget that there's individuals, and that's all there are is individuals. Even if you have 1 million people, that's 1 million people. They're not just a number. So Casey, I really like that one. Feel like I'm dealing with a slimy salesperson. Spoiler alert, a lot of times you are on that side. Hannah said, yep, the cattle analogy. Dorinda, not great. Yeah, I mean, it just, at the end of the day, when you're in a funnel, for the vast majority of the ways that people structure funnels, it's not a positive or enjoyable experience. You do realize that it's their goal that they have in mind more than your own. And with a customer journey, it gives you the ability to consider from that individual standpoint, what do they want out of this? How can I help move them along? And it shifts your mindset towards something much more productive in this relationship, which is providing value. If you only think of it in terms of steps and sequences, then you're forgetting the fact that it's really dynamic. Sometimes people move forward in the journey and then they move back. There's a setback, something happens in their life. And if you haven't accounted for that, then your funnel is just going to say like, oh, well, we lost them at this step. And you don't really have a good plan in place. So, all right, that's good. We're all on the same page. I'm glad that everybody in here feels the same way I do about traditional funnels. So that's it. Most funnels are fairly aggressive, especially if you're in, say, a direct response funnel where they don't really try to build a relationship. They don't really necessarily have time to build a relationship. They're just trying to gun for the sale as quickly as possible. But here's a key consideration and a metric that you should keep in mind. You typically find that about 85% of people who do buy from you, it'll be after 90 days. Now, how many funnels do you think really structure the journey in a way that accounts for people 3, 4, 5, 12 months in? Very few. Most funnels are considering maybe the first 30 days or so. And if they don't convert, they go through like a buy or die campaign. And then that's about it. There's no other value considered beyond that. But that means that for most people, you're leaving the majority of revenue on the table because you haven't developed and built that relationship, in which case somebody's going to be more likely to purchase months down the line.
That's
So here's
so
a few
true,
more.
Joe. That's so true. I was just going to say, even here at Bonjoro, we see a lot of leads actually turn into customers. It could be like 6 months after they signed up for a
Mm-hmm.
free trial with Bonjoro, and maybe the time they signed up wasn't the right time.
Yeah.
But later on down the road, they realize, okay, now is the right time, and then they convert into a customer. But so true on that.
Yeah, that's it. And I'll tell you what, the people that do convert after 3 months or more typically stick around longer because they've had more time to consider it. They understand you better as a brand. You've built more trust and rapport and authority. And think about that. I mean, just to pull it back for a second, that's the way it works with friendships too. Like if you went through a friendship funnel and you were trying to like go from not knowing somebody to being their best friend overnight, that's probably not going to happen very easily. You really build lasting trust when you've had meaningful experiences with somebody over the course of months and years. And that's what matters a lot. Not just because they have more trust in you, but they have more trust in the relationship you've built so that if they refer somebody over, they know that their reputation isn't on the line. People won't refer somebody over if they don't have deep and lasting trust with you. So that's another huge component about why we try to prioritize this. Now, some more statistics here that I think are really impactful. The cost to acquire a new subscriber is or not subscriber, a customer is 5 times more than retaining an existing customer. This is why we say that relationships and revenue go hand in hand, because obviously you do need to drive revenue. You need to grow your business. That's the lifeblood of it. But if you switch your focus from just thinking about the revenue itself and thinking about, well, what do I do that can build that revenue? Relationships are where it comes back in. And that's where retention is a huge factor, because even a 5% increase in retention, and anyone who has a membership or anything subscription based will appreciate this. Just a 5% bump can lift your profits 25 to 95%. And that makes sense if you think about it. All of the money that goes into acquiring a lead, you only make your money back and you grow your business when that person sticks around and gets value from that membership. There's a big difference between somebody who sticks around for 3 months versus 3 years. Costs the same amount to acquire that person and to turn them into a customer, but the profitability is exponentially more when they stick around. And that's honestly like easier to do, to develop systems that really build and deliver results for people to give them a reason to stay. And then lastly, you'll find selling to a new lead, you might convert 5 to 20% of new leads, but selling to existing customers, that jumps up to 60 to 70%, which also makes sense because sales are based on trust. When you have that trust, when you've delivered a result previously for someone, they're so much more confident that you can do it again. And this is where developing your product suite, being able to bring somebody in for maybe a lower ticket offer, prove that you are good to your word, you can deliver results, you can solve their problems. Then when you offer something additional or maybe a higher level service or product, they already have that confidence. They've built that in you. So that's why people convert at such a higher rate, when you've already done the work of proving to them your value.
I'm so excited, Joe. I really can't wait to see the examples of how you work with your clients on the post sale journey.
Oh,
You
we'll
know
do
how
it.
you, yeah, how you incorporate Bonjoro to really retain these customers, build customer loyalty, strengthen those relationships. This is fascinating.
Well, I'm going to give you a good example. I'm going to give you one of my favorite examples of that, which is like something that people don't even expect. So first, you gave me the perfect transition into here, which is the fact that when we switch our mindset from a funnel to a customer journey, you actually realize that it looks a lot more like an hourglass. And with this, the pre-purchase phase is only one part of the journey they're going to have with you. So somebody will progress through each of these stages. And there's many ways that you can do that. But what I'd rather focus in on is what happens after the sale and how we can make this entire process so much more seamless. So when you think about this hourglass, you realize that the thinnest point of convergence here between the purchase and adoption is where you have some of the best leverage to really grow your brand and relationships. Because what we find is that when you just prioritize that sale, it's a lot more likely that somebody's going to have a negative experience going through that traditional funnel. But we can find that people need so many more positive experiences to overcome one negative experience that it's to some degree almost impossible. We all know that when you have a negative first impression of a person or a brand or a business, that it can really set the tone for everything. It can take 40 positive experiences to overcome one negative review, which is why it's so critical. I mean, we've all done this. We've all seen that, like when you go to look for a new restaurant on Yelp, and they might have like a pretty good, they might have 4 out of 5 stars, but if the most recent reviews you see are negative, that's going to weigh on you so much more heavily with your decision making compared to if you just see positive reviews. Now, when we flip that around, of course, a happy customer is almost 6 times more likely to forgive a negative experience because they've already built trust in you. So then if you bobble something or mess it up a little bit, they're going to be much more understanding and forgiving because you started out on a really positive relationship with them. So we always say, like, front load the positive experience. If as much as possible, prioritize really building that trust and delivering great experiences early on, because it'll serve you a lot later if something happens and they have a little bit of a clunky experience later. And that's where Bonjoro really comes in, because we can leverage Bonjoro at each of these stages to really provide that amazing experience. So what I want you to take away at the end of this is that brands that nurture, educate, and build trust win in the short term and long term. I promise you, like some of the strategies we'll show today, you'll see how it can work so well, even in the short term, which it's okay to prioritize short term as well, but you're prioritizing some different elements compared to just the sale. And then you'll see how the long term it pays off. Now, Eric, this is the story that I was excited to tell you a little bit about. So one of my clients reached out to me a few weeks ago. Michael Elsner, fantastic guy. He's in the music licensing industry. So he was a musician for decades, a studio musician, touring musician, got into music licensing, and now he shows musicians how to be able to build a real career around licensing their music. Mm-hmm. And he has thousands and thousands of people coming in all the time into his brand because he's one of the primary advisors and guides in this industry. And so we set him up with Bonjoro because he has already like raving fans. Like this guy does a great job of building relationships, but we wanted to take it even further. And so through his customer journey, there's certain stages we have set up where if they've gone through a training, they're clicking through to the sales pages, they're considering buying, but then they get to a step where they're stuck and they haven't converted. We get Michael to record a personal video to them, thanking them for joining the webinar, asking if they have any questions, giving them some more context and ideas on what the course looks like. And it works fantastic. He gets great responses all the time. But he had one person that came through and he recognized the last name. And growing up, he had this musician that was like that was his favorite, best inspiration, his idol, his role model, this guy that was a singer, songwriter, composer that he looked up to. And he recognized the last name on the Bonjoro task that came in. And so he recorded his usual video, but he said, by the way, I recognize the last name. By any chance, are you married to Mark so-and-so? And he's like, if not, then it's just a coincidence. No worries. But if so, he was one of my biggest inspirations. And yeah, Eric, you there?
Yeah. No, I was just,
okay.
Funny coincidence if it happened to be. Yeah.
Okay. So anyways, he gets a response back. She says, oh my gosh, yes, that is my husband. Long story short, they end up getting connected and Michael ends up getting to meet one of his biggest inspirations ever, because this guy now is going through his program and they got connected through one video, just through Bonjoro. They ended up meeting up for lunch and now they're friends. And Michael, when he texted me, he was like, I cannot believe that this happened from one video. I've wanted to meet this guy forever. And he never thought this was going to be the channel through which he would get to meet one of his role models. But this is the kind of stuff that we see. It's honestly crazy because nobody makes connections like this. It's really low-hanging fruit. And that's why I say it's not just about conversions, because Michael, like it was not his priority to just convert his idol into a sale for his course. For him, this is a brand new relationship that never would have happened without Bonjoro. And I think that is just like the perfect example of why this works so well.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right. We'll keep moving. So just wanted to like drop that in there that, hey, maybe you'll get to meet your role model when you start doing Bonjoros. Now, for what is automation? Because that's really a lot of what we're talking about here. In Michael's case, we had this set up through automations, and the only part that he did manually was to send that video. But it's important to know what automations are because there's a lot of misconceptions about it. But first, when we say automation, I mean, marketing automation is huge. There's thousands and thousands of different tools that you can use. We'll just focus on the email side of automation. And so when we talk about email automation, that means you can trigger different email sequences and things to go out based on certain events that you're tracking, different triggers, anything that you're really measuring. It could be dates, different behaviors. Really what I like to think of when we're talking about automation is you're creating pre-planned paths. And of course, there's going to be something that starts and ends that path, and we'll show examples of what that looks like. But you've gone through some of these. They're probably very familiar. When you join an email list for the first time, you go through a welcome sequence or an indoctrination sequence that kind of warms you up to the brand and tells you what to expect and what they're all about. After you purchase something, you might go through an onboarding sequence. Now, to be honest, like a lot of people drop the ball on this, so maybe you haven't seen too many good examples of it. But after you buy something, hopefully you got a few emails afterwards, of course, giving you access to the product, or if it was a physical product, telling you it's been shipped. But then there should be a follow-up afterwards to make sure that you get the results of that product or service that you bought. Lead magnet delivery, you've opted in for a free PDF or a free guide, and there's emails that come out afterwards. And cart abandonment. Those are just a few examples. I mean, there's hundreds of different types of sequences. And to be honest, there's many sequences we create that don't necessarily fit into like this perfectly defined bucket. And that's the point of automation, is you can really get creative and develop very custom sequences that fit your use cases. So it's not like there's just a list like there are for, baby names and you pick your favorite out of there. You can really get creative and design experiences that are tailored to your brand and the people that you serve. Which brings me to a really important consideration, which is that automation is not impersonal. I've had a lot of people, especially earlier on when automation was a little bit less known, that think, oh, well, automation is just like distancing myself. And I don't like that. I like to have a relationship with my customers. I don't just want to have them feel like they're dealing with a robot. And that's really not the case. You've certainly gone through sequences that do feel that way, where you can tell that there's not really any consideration to you as a person. It's just them pumping information into your face. But what automation does is a few things. And most importantly, if you focus on automating what can be automated, so it gives you time back to focus on the things that you want to do personally, that's the best use case of it. In Michael's case, we were able to automate 95% of the different emails and the journeys that went out. But then when it was the right time for him to send a personal video, all he had to do was pull up his phone and shoot a quick 60-second video. And that led to so many more sales, so many more serendipitous opportunities like he had to meet his hero. So automation is an incredibly impactful point of leverage in any business. That's why I really encourage you to think about different opportunities to use it. And with that, the way that you make the best automations is to recognize that automation should listen. It's not just about triggering 10 emails to go out over 2 weeks. It's really listening and trying to identify the right time and the right opportunities to be able to send the right message. So you always say the right message to the right person at the right time. And when we say time, one of the considerations is it's not just time. It's not like after 3 days is the perfect time. There's other things you can listen for. And I always say it's a raised hand, right? You want to, it's permission-based marketing. So maybe when somebody completes a quiz, if they click a link, visit a sales page, finish a module, or complete a course, all of these are essentially a raised hand where they're saying, hey, I'm ready to move to the next step. That's where permission-based marketing comes in. And that's where understanding the journey gets to be a lot more impactful. So here's an example of a funnel map or a customer journey map, or however else you want to refer to it. Now, I always like thinking that every single stage of the journey has a before and an after, and your job is to create the bridge that gets them there. That bridge is where the value is. That's where you're actually getting them results and building the trust that help them move from where they're stuck to where they want to go. And so in this case, in the funnel map or the customer journey map that you see here, those green boxes, I know you can't read those on the screen here, but those are individual emails. And so if I know when somebody joins my list, I'm going to send them through a welcome and indoctrination sequence. Part of my job is to take them from the before state where they feel stuck, where they have that problem they're trying to overcome, and then move them through the bridge, a series of emails, content, whatever it is that needs to get them to that after state, which is their desired outcome. When you think about it in terms of a journey like this, you recognize that each individual email is part of a puzzle. It's part of that bridge that moves them along. And the other interesting thing about it, when you think about it this way, the after state of one journey is the before state of the next. We've all heard the term another level, another devil, right? It's like once you get to a certain a certain plateau and you break through the next level, well, now you have a new set of problems. And that's not a bad thing. Well, our job is just to continue to solve problems. But the recognition that there's always a transition between these different stages is where you can really provide great experiences, because transitions are really challenging if you make it clunky. If there's not a clear connection as to how you kind of, button up one part of the experience and show them they've achieved what they set out to achieve, and that now the next step is to move on to the next stage of the journey. If you miss that, then it comes off really clunky. And you've probably felt that before as you've gone through other sequences where it feels disconnected or really jarring. And in that case, that's a sign that you probably haven't thought enough about the smooth transition from each stage to the next. So it's time, I think, to look at a real world example and dive in a little bit. So I'm going to share my next screen here. So tell me if this clicks over to the funnel map here. Eric, can you see my next screen, or is it still stuck on the presentation?
Funnel map. And I see the little Bonjoro logos there.
All right, here we go. So with this, there's a few things that we're going to be able to walk through. So this is really kind of an overarching view of an entire business. You can see all of the stages that somebody can move through. And just because I see we're already a half hour in, I'm going to go a little bit quickly through this, and we're going to dive into some specific examples. But just to give a couple of overviews here. When I think about mapping out a customer journey, on the left-hand side where they're the lead, I always like thinking about friction. Like we're moving them from something that might be an easy ask into a more difficult or challenging ask, meaning it takes more time, it takes more effort, it takes more trust. And through these stages, as we move somebody through, maybe opting into a newsletter isn't a really big ask, but getting them to watch a webinar is a bigger ask. That's where those transitions and making it really seamless become incredibly important. So as an example through here, and this is a funnel map, Eric, we can share this link. I'm sure we can share this out so that people can go through and look at this. But as an example, you'll recognize that at all of these different stages of the journey, you can leverage Bonjoro to provide a really incredible experience. And I include a little gear icon next to some of these that work really well to be completely automated, where you can use Bonjoro and not have to spend time recording manual videos. But of course, for any of these, you can record personalized videos where you use their name and maybe you reflect something that you know about them in that process. So there's always a balance depending on how much time you have to be able to record individual videos. But there's some really great use cases. And we're going to walk through some of these in detail. So I'll go a little bit quickly through this just so you can see some exampos.
Hey, Joe, real quickly, feel free to pop the link in if you want to in the chat. And then also Raphael asks, what tool are you using for these mappings here? Is it Whimsical?
Okay. Yep, Alan got it right there. Whimsical. I mean, I don't have an affiliate link or anything for these, but I have gotten so many people to sign up for Whimsical because this is my favorite tool, like by far. I've been using it for years. If you're looking for a tool for mapping this stuff out, I couldn't recommend it more highly. So yeah, Whimsical is the tool to use here. So I would highly, highly recommend giving that a look. So as an example, the welcome video. Now, this is a great opportunity. I use this in our business, and we've had some amazing experiences that came from this, with one video leading to us working with some amazing clients that we never would have had access to without it. And, you just build a connection right off the bat. This is what we said about like prioritizing that great experience early on. And with the NextGen templates, like we'll show, you can embed things beneath this welcome video where you might ask them a couple of questions and say, hey, what's your biggest challenge? What can we help you with? So that not only are you sending them something of value, but they feel heard, which is a huge component that sets the tone that, oh, this is somebody who wants to hear from me, which is really impactful, and it makes it more interactive. So we'll show you what that looks like. Also, in these transition sequences, you might find that towards the end of that welcome sequence, you want to move somebody into a webinar and then make that really low friction for them. Well, like you're on Demio right now, Demio is a great tool that you can integrate into this. So when you send out that video, again, whether it's personalized or whether it's automated, you can have a video inviting them into the webinar, telling them what it's about, addressing any questions, and then right beneath that, you have embedded the registration. So they don't have to go to another page. They don't have to click around. They can do it directly beneath that video, which is really impactful because those really seamless customer experiences are what lead to so many people being raving fans of a lot of these modern brands like Apple that make things so seamless. Convenience can really not be understated. Like you really can't appreciate how much people love convenience, and even like saving a couple of clicks and having it streamlined in one place leads to just some really impactful differences in your conversions. So let's say somebody goes through this funnel, and then through that, you might have two different types of people that come in. You might have, for example, a segment of people who are brand new to business or an established business, and you're going to talk to them differently. Now, the webinar might be applicable to both groups, but then in your follow-up is where you want to get customized. And we'll show an example of exactly how to build this. But for example, you might have a different email sequence that follows up with the new businesses, because for them, they might not be a great fit for your primary offer, but you're gonna have a video that comes out, maybe invites them into a DIY product, like a course or a digital product. So what you can do is you can have that video that comes out that invites them to it. And then again, with the NextGen templates, you can embed other videos beneath it, like the YouTube link. And so maybe you have testimonial videos of people who went through your course, and you want to be able to build that trust and social proof on the follow-up to that webinar that's customized to brand new businesses. But if they're an established business, you might say, okay, this person actually shouldn't go through the DIY course section of the customer journey. For them, they'd be a great fit for our agency services. And so with that follow-up, you might have a different video triggered that talks more about what your services entail. And then from that, you can embed a Calendly link for them to book a call with you or your sales team. And then in that video, you might have a client testimonial video that shows, hey, here's what we do, this is how they helped us, and so forth. So there's more relatability. So this is always why I think segmentation is a really under leveraged opportunity when it comes to personalization, because you can make something that goes out to 1 million people still feel like it's going out to one individual, just, a one-to-one kind of communication. And that's why we said you always want your automations to listen and be personal, because there's so many opportunities to do that. There's a few others that I'll go through quickly. I'm cognizant of the time here. Of course, when you have somebody come through your entry-level offer here, after you deliver the results through this onboarding process and you help them get the most out of it, you might have a video that comes up that's kind of an upsell, and that gives them, maybe it's an incentive, a discount, a reason to sign up for your primary offer if they're a good fit for it. So it's a really good transition. So you're not just having to sell really hard in emails themselves. You can send them something personal that feels like it's a much less aggressive but higher converting touch. From your primary offer, this might be a great time where you have a welcome video series that comes out. Now, this could be a personal video welcoming the customer and congratulating them on taking action. And then you might have pre-recorded onboarding videos that come out after that, which show them how to use the product or how to engage with your services. So you might only have to record a 30-second video here, but you could have 3-5-minute videos that follow after this that walk them through the next stages. So this is where that personal touch blends really well with the automated side. And then, of course, like we talked about, testimonials, referrals, things like that are really impactful. So having that at the right place in the sequence here after you delivered this value, you can trigger that to come out, and that can be an incredibly powerful tool. Now, some of these I'll skip past a little bit just because we're going to dive into some more applicable examples. But this is where we talk about triggers. So I'll give a few quick examples here, and then I'll keep an eye on the chat. So if anybody needs more clarification, I'm happy to dive in more. One thing that I really like is, for example, let's say you have a membership and you have site tracking enabled, so you can see what pages people are visiting once they're logged in. If somebody visits the cancellation page multiple times, that's probably a raised hand saying, I'm not getting the value I expected, or I'm struggling and I need help. So in that case, you might say, hey, when somebody visits the cancellation page 2 times, let's trigger a help video that goes out, and we might have a link to book a call with our support team. That's fully automated. You don't have to spend any time doing that. That can just be something that is automatically going out and helping with that retention. Because remember, the retention, we said, even a 5% lift, which is really a pretty small percentage of people that are going to end up sticking around, can have an outsized impact on your profitability. And this is something that you can really completely automate and invite people in to work with your support team. Now, a hot lead follow-up, here's kind of the other example here. Let's say you have a membership and you have a non-member that's clicking through and they're visiting the sales page repeatedly. Well, if they're visiting it multiple times and they're still not purchasing, we might say, okay, this person is definitely interested because they do keep going back to the sales page and they're considering it. So maybe we want to send a personal invitation video that can try to resolve any objections, that can just create that connection. And then you might have embedded beneath that a pre-recorded video answering frequently asked questions that you hear about your course. So these all give you some great examples. Of course, here, like we said, if you're like a course creator, you can trigger this based on certain completion rates throughout a course. So maybe if somebody gets through the first section, the first module, and you just want to send out a congratulations video, and this can kind of, hype them up a little bit and get them to continue going. Again, that builds right into the retention element of what we're talking about here. So that's kind of a quick overview of here. Chris, oh, the link here. Yeah, let me share this link here.
These are great examples, Joe. Really like the course completion one because when you celebrate those little milestones, it lets the person know that, oh, there's somebody cheering me on. And so they're
Right.
more likely to continue with the course.
All right. I'm just putting this onto view here so that everybody can check this out. So let me know if that works. That should be good. And we'll probably see. You might have, I don't think you have to create an account just to view it. You should be fine just to view it. But if you're going to like copy it and then, use it on your own, I think you might have to have your own account to copy that. But let me know in the chat if that came through and if that works for y'all to see this here.
I was able to view it. Hope everybody else is. Feel free to put in the chat if you're able to view it. And Joe, since we've only got about 20 more minutes, if we can dive into some of the examples within
Yes.
Bonjoro, that'd be great.
For sure. Okay, so I'm going to dive in really quick here. And are you back on the screen here? Just making sure that it switched back to the right tab here, Eric. Perfect. Okay. So that welcome video example, right? We already talked about how that's a great time to make a really powerful first impression. And it can also listen and collect that data. So I gave you the example of how we include a type form. That's a great way for us to gather content ideas and start creating segments, because here's what that looks like. So with this, when they end up on this landing page here, there's a video from me welcoming them in, saying, thanks for joining. And then I can embed that type form directly beneath the video here, which of course looks great because it's branded, it all fits in to the vibe that we have for the brand. And they can just type directly in here. And there's a couple of questions. So when they answer that first one, it'll scroll to the next question. But I can collect that data right away. And you could use that if you want to ask questions about segmenting them into different groups. You can include that in there. But I just like open-ended questions, because whatever they tell me their biggest challenge is probably a really great opportunity for me to create content around. And depending on how many leads you have coming in, you might respond directly back to that person and say, oh, this is your biggest challenge. We're here. I'd recommend that you read these blogs or watch these videos that we have that resolve that. And that's such a great first impression. It's really, really hard to have anything that impactful without some level of personalization. The other element that we talked about here with the post-webinar follow-up for these two, I'll give an example of what that looks like for, say, an established business if you really want to try to move somebody into booking a call with you. So not only does this help maintain that momentum coming off the back of the call and give a personal touch, but you can give that interactive element that helps them kind of resolve a lot of those concerns and feel like you de-risk the decision to start working with you. So here's what that can look like. So on this one here, again, personal video from me. Beneath that, I can have a client testimonial video embedded, and then directly below that, they can click straight in to book a call. And that is, again, a really seamless experience. And then if you look here on the right-hand side, of course, you can customize the text in there so that can complement the video and everything you've included there, and give another couple of call to actions on that side. But this is really, really powerful. And I see in the chat here about integrating the triggers here. Yeah, I mean, you can integrate so many triggers. It's crazy, whether it's through one of the native integrations in Bonjoro or through Zapier or any of those. I've found very few things I wasn't able to trigger. Like you can usually pull that data. So I think you should be able to do that, Philip. All right. So before we get into this, actually, let me go ahead and pull up and show you an example really quick. I know we've got just a second to show this. So Eric, why don't I create one example and I'll show an existing example we have. Does that work? I'll just assume that's a yes. So when you go through Bonjoro, it's really, really simple to create these. That's honestly one of the reasons that I like using it, is because it is so straightforward. With most of these, you really just want to think about the main trigger that's going to start this sequence. And a lot of times that might just be that they subscribe to a list or they purchase a product. You can get much more granular with it, but I'll just show you a simple example if we wanted to create something, for example, for a new subscriber. So you have two options in here. You have the postcard layout and the NextGen template. And we're going to talk about the NextGen templates because this is where you can embed all these different forms and everything like that. So when you go in, there's really only a few elements that you need to customize, which is, again, why I love this, because I work with so many tools that are unbelievably complex and not user-friendly, but Bonjoro has done a brilliant job of this. So when you come in, first off, you'll be able to make sure it's coming from the right email from you, and then you can add your company logo, which is, I mean, literally as easy as just clicking a button. So now you've got this customized, and the message content and the landing page design are where we get to have fun with it. So already you've got the first bit set up here. Now in the message content, You can go ahead and customize this to say whatever you want to say. You can use merge tags, which essentially takes a piece of information you have in your database and then it updates that in real time. So of course you've seen that with like your first name and things like that, but there's a lot of other fields you could use if you wanted to pull something that was relevant and was going to be impactful to include in that message that you know about someone. Now, to be honest, this subject line, I pretty much always just leave that subject line because it works really well. When people see, hey, here's a personal video, like you get great click-throughs with that. Now, the call to action is where you get to have some fun here as well. And I would pretty much always include a call to action here. People expect to see, a button and something to do next. And you can customize this. Of course, you can customize the button text and the link that you send them to, and you can customize the branding. It's little stuff, but it's fun to be able to customize the branding because it seems like a very seamless experience when everything looks the way they expect it to look. Now, here we go with the landing page design. Now, in this, you can do a background. So that's the design elements here, where you can include a background image. That's, you can put whatever you want in there that feels really brand aligned. The more important part here is the content blocks. So this is where you can add in anything that you want to appear automatically or embedded beneath the video. So if you want to add a video sequence, you can pre-upload content into Bonjoro so that you have this already loaded and ready to go. Of course, you can record a personal video from scratch. It's so amazing. It comes up so easy. When you have a new task, it just lights up on your phone, says a new task to record. You just hit the button and you're good to go. It takes no time. Now, embedding the media here, you'll see some options already listed below here, but it's really straightforward. If you just want to add media, you can click in here and then just paste a link directly. So I've got Calendly open. Let's just say I wanted to have somebody book a call with me. I can just click, paste in that right there, hit the check mark, and then you'll see it embedded right here when you go to preview it. So I'll save that to the preview, and then you'll see when I come to preview message, you have your default video, and then they can go right here and they can book directly in Bonjoro. This is so seamless for people that I promise, if instead of redirecting them to multiple pages and doing, all kinds of different little high friction asks where they're maybe jumping around the different pages, if it's just embedded right in here, you will get far, far more people that end up working the way through and booking a call with you because you made it so convenient for them. But you can embed a lot of other things. Like I said, you could add another one below that and say, okay, maybe here I want to embed more content and I'm going to put a link to a Typeform survey. This is what's great for things like onboarding. Maybe you have a welcome video and then you have embedded beneath that a survey that gets them to answer some of those questions like I had listed about what's your biggest challenge. And it's really as simple as just adding another embed and then you can paste it right beneath there and you can just kind of build these little custom pages. Obviously, you wouldn't want to add, 100 different things in there. You don't want it to be overwhelming, but having a few different things that provide value and get them to take action it's such an easy process. So, and have fun with it. The more I did this, the more I was looking for opportunities to do it because there's no downside to including more of these videos at different stages. People want to have that personal connection. And when you see the impact it has, I think you'll find a lot more ways to be able to jump in and find opportunities to do that. Which
great example, Joe.
Back.
Yeah, great example. I was just gonna say, speaking from experience, when we started embedding our Calendly calendars to onboarding videos that we would send to new customers or new leads, our calls, our appointments just skyrocketed. So sometimes it can be too powerful.
Yeah, we've had people we had to turn it off because they got too many calls.
Yeah. You got to be cognizant of that. They sometimes they can be too powerful. It's a great thing, but definitely a game changer though.
Perfect. So with that, to wrap this up and make sure we have some time for questions here, I promise you that marketing can be easy. It can be personal. It can be fun. And when you start having fun with it yourself and finding these opportunities, you'll see that not only does it work unbelievably better, but you start to enjoy the process a lot more because you're not feeling pressured to just try to squeeze somebody through the next stage of the funnel. We all know what that feels like. I mean, at the beginning, people say I feel like cattle, you don't want to create that experience for people. You want them to feel like there's a personal touch and a connection. And I would guarantee if you look at your inbox right now, the emails that you open, you probably open those emails, not just from the subject line, but from the from name. You have a relationship with that person. And I would just about put my life on it because at least for me and everybody I've ever talked to, there's certain from names, meaning the person that sent the email, as soon as you see that it's from them, you open that email because you know it's going to be valuable. That's what we're trying to build here. We're trying to build it in a way where you don't have to just leverage clever subject lines and things like that to get people to open, but that you've built so much trust with them that as soon as they see it's from you, they already know that it's worth clicking and going to the next stage. So I really hope that This is giving you some ideas that you see that funnels don't have to be the only way that you approach this. You can think more holistically and create much more positive experiences. And it's honestly, it was a game changer when we started using tools like this and then helping our clients use it. It's been just unanimously a positive experience. And like Eric said, just be careful because it might work too well. And I'm confident to say that that's not necessarily an overpromise, underdeliver. Like you can have such a greater response to this that you find your schedules like booked up with calls and things. So hopefully that gives you some ideas. If you want to work with us and have our help on this kind of thing, because as hopefully you can tell, I'm passionate and excited about this. We really appreciate when you show up and you're engaged with this and, responding in the chat and being open-minded and willing to look at different ways to do marketing. So we really enjoy working with people that prioritize this. If you'd like to work with us, we'd be happy to give you a $500 gift card for a discount on any of our services, because to be honest, we really prioritize working with other brands that we like. And if you're on this webinar, I have a pretty good idea that you also appreciate personalization and doing marketing the right way. So we love working with brands like that. Where we focus is being able to really help you audit your existing campaigns, develop strategy plans so you feel like you have clarity, you have that kind of funnel map like we outlined there, or the customer journey map. If you're looking at how to plan and build automations, we can help with that. And of course, email copywriting is something that we really enjoy doing. So if you need any help with that, that's what we're here for. And of course, if you just want to chat or ask any other questions, I'm always here for that. This is my business partner, Mike, by the way. I think I had that at the beginning, hopefully, but you can reach out to me. Magic.co is where you can find us, more information about what we do. We have some articles on there and some other recommended tools and stuff that we really like to do for personalization like this. And then you can just reach out to me directly, joe@magic.co. And it's spelled goofy, and I'll explain why. Just a last little Easter egg if you stuck around. So my business partner is Mike Alvarez, and I'm Joe Kearns. So that's our initials, MAJK, our initials. So that's where that goofy name comes from. But yeah, if you would like help, reach out. And then also I saw that the handout that Eric just threw into the chat here, that walks you through 6 steps to creating a personalized automation. And I think you'll find it really valuable. It taps into the same philosophy that we talked about here today and gives you a systematic and straightforward approach to understanding what do I need to understand or know before I go creating automations that I make sure that it delivers a really positive experience for them. And also I see Eric just popped up. If you want to schedule a chat, you can click directly in there to book a chat with us. So awesome. I think let's leave some time for questions now. Is that good, Eric?
That is fantastic. Fantastic. What I really like is just, walking people through the step-by-step process on how to use, the NextGen templates. Like Joe said, there's a lot of different use cases for when you can use these. I mean, we've got some companies that are having great success and getting their demonstration, their webinars, but sales demos, on average, maybe 40% of people that would sign up for a sales demo would attend. But now those, that attendance record is like 60% and higher because they're using Bonjoro now.
Mm-hmm.
Some businesses that are using Bonjoros for their testimonial request initiatives, and all of a sudden, they're getting like 3-4 times as many testimonials that they did previously when they were just using email. So very, very powerful. There's a lot of different variety of ways that you can use it. Joe, he brought to the table some ways that I didn't even think of. When somebody goes to the cancellation page, that could trigger a task. Somebody's thinking about canceling. Let me send them this video and see if they want to book a call with me. And I thought, oh yeah, that's fantastic. I didn't think of that. So that's why I wanted to have you on here and show some of those examples. But definitely, if anybody wants to chat with Joe, feel free to reach out to him. I know he's also a wizard with Active Campaign. So if you use Active Campaign, he is a preferred certified partner. And really knows Active Campaign well. But everything that he showed here, you can do with many other platforms in addition to Active Campaign. You can do this with MailerLite, Entreport, MailChimp. We integrate with so many other platforms. And I showed a link previously there where you can see some of the platforms that we integrate with, or you can just type in Bonjoro integrations and you can see a full list. And if we don't have a direct integration, you can usually integrate through Zapier. And that's also a great way to trigger different actions through Zapier. So let me look at the chat here, see if there's any questions here. Let's see. Absolutely, Mark. I mean, I say that the best thing, obviously, that you can do to have a relationship with somebody, with a customer or a student, is in person. but because of COVID, you can't really do that now. And then also, if you're trying to operate globally, you have an online business, the next best thing you can do is send them a personalized video, because people are cognizant that, hey, this person took the time out of their day to send me a message, record me a message, send that to me, and they're more inclined to open it, to view it, and to engage with it and reply to with it. So happy that you're using and you're seeing success, Mark, and love just hearing when other people are having success with personalized videos and Bonjoro.
Awesome. I do see one from
Suzanne,
Suzanne in there.
yeah, I would say, Suzanne, the best thing that you can do is get your domain verified. And so,
Mhm.
as Joe said earlier, once you do that, the videos will come from your email address, and the deliverability rate will be so much higher than if it was just coming from a standard email address or standard email platform. And you can do that with Bonjoro. The process is very, very quick and easy to do. If you have any sort of questions or trouble, you can reach out to us. But once that domain is verified, the emails from Bonjoro will actually be triggered from your domain, and they won't be looked as a spam because people would see that it came from your email address and no one else's.
Yeah, Suzanne, I've personally never had any client where it went to spam. So that's I certainly wouldn't worry about that. All right, and Raphael.
Yeah. Yes, Beryl. So this is Eric here. The download will come in an email in about 20 or 30 minutes after the webinar is over. It just takes a little bit of time for it to process, but you'll probably get an email in about 30 minutes with the replay link. Raphael, exactly. With filters, and we didn't go into this, but we do have this capability with filters where, let's say you only wanted to send Bonjoros to people who ordered above a certain dollar threshold,
Mhm.
maybe above $30 or something. You can do that through Bonjoro filters when you're setting up the integration, and then that way those orders would only come to Bonjoro if they exceeded a certain threshold amount. If you need any help with that, you can just reach out to us. You can chat with us through our website, or just reach out to us through support@bonjoro.com, and we can help you with that. But even just sending a few messages, out every day, I think you'll notice the difference it makes for your business.
And with those filters as well, you could say beneath a certain dollar threshold, maybe they just get an automated video. So you can do that at scale. And then if it's above a certain amount, that would trigger a personal video. So you can definitely still do that at scale as well.
That's why you're on here, Joe.
Yep.
See,
Yep.
I didn't even think of that, but yeah, that's perfect. That's a perfect
Yeah.
use case.
Okay, so for Dave, I see I used it for outbound sales, some examples on how you can use it in outbound. So like for cold outreach, I'm going to assume you're talking about, Dave. Is that right? Correct. Okay. Yeah. So for outbound sales, I mean, it's the same thing, to be honest. What I've found that works really well is, well, I'll start with what is not effective for most people with cold outreach is people just send out really templatized emails. Like those are the ones that typically go to spam, where there's no personalization. It's just like a straight call to action saying like, hey, look, just here's what we can do, book a call, and there's no value provided. So something that can work well is, for example, demonstrate value in this video. I would, if you're going to do cold outreach and do outbound, I would make those videos personalized and not just automated, because this is your opportunity to stand out. I mean, talk to anybody and look in your LinkedIn inbox, and any of the messages coming in, like 90% of them, probably 95% of them aren't personalized at all, and you don't even read them. But when you have some come through, depending on their inbox settings, you will see a preview a lot of times in the inbox with like a little animation, where you can be like waving in a GIF. And Eric, tell me if any of this is changed or different recently, but every time we've sent that out, basically you can have something where I've seen people take like a little whiteboard and you like write the person's name on it, and then you're holding that up at the beginning of the video. So when they load that and they see it in the inbox in the preview, they can see it's actually for them because you have their name. You're like holding it up
Yep.
and like waving to them. So Eric, that's still the case, right?
Absolutely. That's a trick that people who use video, they often use by holding the person's name in front. I can tell you what I've noticed just from sending out onboarding, new customer videos is that I actually get a higher open rate when I'm shooting a Bonjoro video outside. And so when I'm outside pushing the stroller, walking my little girl, or doing an errand, or walking to the store, I'll actually send a lot of my videos with our mobile application. And because
Hmm.
people look and they see the frame and they're like, wow, that's weird. There's like a tree behind this person, or there's like a car behind this person or something. The open rates tend to be higher than just shooting from my desktop in my office. And so that's something else that I've just noticed. And I try to send the majority of my videos when I'm out out with the
Yeah.
kids or at the playground or at the park now.
Well, there's another reason for that as well. And this is pretty much the same reason why you'll see that so many paid ads also look very natural. It's not necessarily like, some professional studio. It's somebody holding, like vertical camera and they're like outside walking around.
Yep.
And it's because that's the kind of video you would get from a friend, not from a corporation. And so anything that stands out that makes it look and sound similar to the kind of message a friend would send you is going to outperform these especially for outbound, it's going to really outperform that. And it's because people are like, oh, this is personal. This is what it feels like when a friend reaches out. And so there's a lot of, I guess I'll say like symbolism that you're kind of embedding within this, that if you're outdoors, I mean, most people kind of prefer outdoors. So it's kind of like natural and it's nice and relaxing, even this like small kind of intuitive way. But it also seems more like you're doing it in real time, because a lot of times that's how you
Yeah.
want to do this. As soon as a Bonjoro comes in, wherever you are, just record it. And I'll tell you, there's so much serendipity that comes into that, because let's say you're at a coffee shop, right? And it comes in and you throw on the video and you're like, hey, I'm just sitting here enjoying my daily cold brew. And I saw it came in. I really wanted to invite you in, blah, blah. Like, well, they might love cold brew, and then all of a sudden you have this kind of interesting conversation. Or maybe you were sitting down playing guitar and you're like, hey, I just threw my guitar down because I saw this came in.
Absolutely.
Like, it's so personal. Like it makes it more fun for you too, because you might have a little bit of a script in terms of like what you're going to say, but then when you imbue that with just the nuance of real life, I mean, maybe you're in your car sitting at a drive-through, and you're just going to record the video really quick while you're in there. People love that because it shows that you're human, and we all live lives that are not Instagram perfect. Like it humanizes you to a huge degree. And I've always found that the people that were concerned it would come across unprofessional have the exact opposite experience, that it comes across highly personal, which is what you want. You don't need to overemphasize professionalism with this. It doesn't mean, you start swearing up a storm on a on a video or something, but the personalization is what really does make it impactful. So definitely, I would say responsiveness, like prioritize getting back to somebody quicker rather than trying to be in the perfect setting, because that's what makes the biggest impact.
Yep, absolutely. Suzanne, thank you so much for sharing that link. That's one of our links that Summer, my colleague, created, how to verify your email address if you're using Bonjoro. Quick short video on how to do that. There's a lot of other short videos about the platform, how to verify your domain, how do our integrations work. If you just go on YouTube and just start searching for Bonjoro videos, or just type in Bonjoro Academy, you can see lots of videos like this. So we are over the time. I want to say thank you for Joe for coming on board here, demonstrating different types of automations on how you include personalized video, and then walking the audience through on how you set one up using our NextGen templates. Really appreciate having you on here. And then for everybody in attendance as well, really enjoy you guys being on here, seeing you guys here. You're going to get the replay video in about 30 minutes. If you just want to reach out to me, you can just reach out at Eric, ERIC, at bonjoro.com if you have any questions for anything. And then, of course, Joe, he shared his information earlier. But Joe, again, if you just want to say it one more time.
I'll just toss it right into the chat here. So there you go, joe@magic.co.
Fantastic. Okay, everybody, hope you guys have a great day. I'm going to go ahead and sign off and have fun, surprising and delighting your customers with Bonjoro. Cheers.
That's it. Thanks, everybody.